Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have a very exciting show for you. Okay, the Super Bowl is over, but there's still some controversy going on. Congratulations to the Seahawks. They won the game. But this controversy has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with the Bad Bunny halftime performance. Now, there are some Americans who took issue with the fact that he was performing at all. And in this segment, we're going to see a clip where Piers Morgan, a pretty famous journalist from England, has a debate with another famous journalist from England named MEGYN, from the U.S. named MEGYN Kelly, and they dispute the different views of the performance. On one side, some people felt like it was a great performance. I did. I thought it was a good performance, but I also agree with the other side of people who felt like it didn't translate with the National Football League. And I think that's the point that MEGYN Kelly argued. So without any further ado, let's jump right into this and see the debate.
Yes, I would have, because...
Okay, right, so you're trying to make official...
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. Too bad.
Halftime show. My wife and daughter forced me to watch it. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how that went. You know who else didn't like the halftime show? MEGYN Kelly. Unloads on Piers Morgan today. There's nobody better. There's nobody better than MEGYN Kelly. Watching her in a debate. She mopped the floor with Bill Maher.
Trump has incendiary rhetoric, there's no question, but we have 4 years to judge him by, and the country was going pretty well when Trump was in there, unlike the 4 years we've had under these two.
Well, I mean, I could argue with that too. Actually, if Trump had this economy, and I could go through all the stats, the stock market is through the roof, wages are up.
As high as it was under Trump.
Well, first of all, Trump inherited somebody else's economy.
That's what Barack Obama would like us to.
Well, it's true.
Okay.
It's really on day one, everything changed.
So just walk me through it. So Trump has Obama to thank for his economy, but Biden can't thank Trump for anything.
Okay. Let's get off this. Because it's not what I really want to get.
Let's watch the exchange.
Well, I'm going to start with something where I know we are totally in disagreement, and that is Bad Bunny. So I got up this morning and I watched it all without reading anything about it. I just thought I want to watch this completely clean without anyone's view contaminating my brain cells. And I watched all 15 minutes of it. And I've watched every halftime show going back 30, 40 years. I thought as a piece of theater, it was the best I've seen. Just the most extraordinary kind of Broadway on steroids piece of theater.
So enjoyable.
I also thought it wasn't remotely divisive politically in the end. His Grammys speech was, but his performance, I thought, was actually a lot of things which I would have thought people on the conservative right would applaud. It was about love. A couple actually got married for real in the middle of it. He was preaching about unity, not just the United States of America, but the wider Americas. What was the problem, MEGYN?
Whatever happened, you're just standing there and singing.
A certain male gesture is coming to mind, but I'm not sure I can do it on this show. No, it wasn't about what he was actually going to do during the middle of the Super Bowl performance. It's about him. It's about him being chosen as the Super Bowl performer.
Yeah, why was he
somebody
chosen?
Who's been an outspoken critic, of course, of the Trump administration and of America and our anti-immigrant policies. This is long before the current controversy over ICE. He doesn't want illegals deported from this country. Well, too bad, because the majority of Americans do want that and are not shy about pushing for it. And that's why President Trump got elected. So he and his little buddies over at Green Day never miss a chance to bash the United States of America. He got selected because Jay-Z, for some reason, has got the choice over who performs at our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Who's another problem. Don't even get me started on his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Why is he choosing who's appropriate for American children to watch during our seminal sporting event? And I'm sorry, Piers, but to get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million? Spanish speakers in the United States. We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish.
And same in Canada. Some people speak French. Yep.
So with this point, this is something that did come to mind as that performance was happening. I did think about this. I think that's a valid point she's making. I actually had that thought in my mind as the Super Bowl was happening because, you know, Bad Bunny's a great artist. He's a reggaeton artist, for those who don't follow him, from Puerto Rico. And there are millions of people who love his music. He's kind of global, but I think his music appeals to an audience that is not the core audience of the National Football League, right? The National Football League is like middle America type people. I mean, it's a vast majority of Americans who like American football, right? If this was soccer, if this was the World Cup and he performed for the World Cup, it would make total sense because soccer is a major world sport. And in South America, it's huge. There's a lot more of an audience that he would appeal to in that sense. Now, that's a fair point. The whole time the performance happened in Spanish, and a lot of people didn't understand what he was saying. So these are all great songs, I guess, for his Spanish-speaking listeners who understand the music that he performs. But for the rest of the people, the majority of the National Football League, no one could relate to anything that he was doing in terms of the performance. One, because of the language barrier. Obviously, it was all in Spanish. Didn't seem like the music was being translated. And two, I don't know that there's a huge reggaeton fan base in the U.S. And on the biggest stage with the Super Bowl, you know, it doesn't translate. Now, I was watching Bill O'Reilly yesterday, and he said the reason Bad Bunny performed is because Apple Music paid, I think, like $30 million or something like that to the NFL to ensure that this dude can perform, because I guess they're trying to stream his music and they're in that process. So they went ahead and was the corporate backing that kind of pushed the issue so that he was the guy that got the nod. But for most Americans, some people feel that the NFL bend the knee not to cater to the core base of its fans, but to cater to sort of the folks on the left, if you will, the people who's a bit more liberal, the people who's not even that much into football. They felt like that show did not connect to the game. And I thought it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I watched the game. I enjoyed the halftime show. My kids had a dance party to it. It was a good time. But it didn't make sense for the National Football League. That's my view. Now, she is vocalizing her point of view in that, you know, she felt like it was not something that aligned with the NFL's brand. And I think she's within her right to question that. Now, Piers Morgan, being a guy who's from England, I don't think he can really relate or understand where she's coming from. I think he's just speaking at the issue from the standpoint of a person who's into theater and theatrics, and the performance itself had a lot of theater and a lot of theatrics, a lot of which I didn't get. The whole time I'm wondering, what's all of this theatrics, and he's falling, and then there's all this theatrics. It's like you were watching a play or something with a musical in the background. It was a bit much. I mean, people tuned in to watch football. I would have preferred to just watch the halftime show, like of them talking about what was going wrong in the game, because obviously my team was not winning and I needed some answers. But, you know, for a lot of people, it just didn't make no sense as to why they chose a reggaeton artist to perform at the National American Football League. It just didn't make a lot of sense.
A unifying event for the country, not for the Latinos, not for one small group, but for the country.
Latinos.
We don't need a black national anthem. We don't need a Spanish-speaking, non-English performer, and we don't need an ICE or America hater featured as our primetime entertainment.
It gets good.
What is the national language officially the national language of the United States of America?
He thinks he gets it here.
I mean, English. And there's been a push for many years to make it an official,
you don't have one.
Documented thing.
You don't have one.
If you would have let me finish my comments, I would have pointed that out, but people have been pushing to make it official.
Okay, right, so you're trying to make official.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here. Whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim, it's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected. And whether it's Bad Bunny, who is American but refuses to speak English in his performances, or anybody else, we have to keep the Super Bowl, which is a quintessential American event. Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer. That's what the Super Bowl should be.
I mean, I kind of get it. I understand where she's coming from. Some people are going to say, no, she's being racist, or I kind of understand where she's coming from. If I'm being honest, I understand where she's coming from. She's making a valid point. The league has to make sure that it doesn't lose sight of who its core audience is. And I can give you another example about this particular matter that was in the spotlight some years ago. I think when Obama was president, the Super Bowl was doing these like gay commercials with like Bud Light, with like drag queens and different like people and men. They were advertising these things, and they lost a lot of their core viewers. People just totally started like, I guess boycotting Bud Light at one point, and Bud Light ended up losing a lot of its core supporters who are Americans who drink beer during these games. They got affected. That's because in an effort to get up behind some of these woke statements and some of these woke movements, sometimes brands will attach themselves to a woke movement, and they'll alienate the core fan base of a particular sport or league. And the NFL has done it before. They've gotten behind a core message. This was around the time Kaepernick and all those guys were, pushing for some things. And in an effort to kind of keep up with the hype and side with the power structures at the time, the NFL was pushing a particular narrative, and the people was just over it. They started not buying particular drinks, and they started moving in another direction. And so I think when you have sort of the combination of these things where, the brand message and the core audience that formulates the basis of the sport is being left out of the conversation, then you're going to get a lot of pushback. For a lot of Americans who don't follow reggaeton, it would have been confusing as to why there's a reggaeton artist performing at the Super Bowl. It would have been very confusing, right? So she's speaking to that. That's something Piers Morgan, I don't think, would understand, because he doesn't live in this country to understand the core basis of it. I'm sure he has a house and stuff here, but I don't think he identifies as an American football loving guy, right? Who understands, the branding, who understands the people that support the sport, who understand how important it is. American football is a big deal. I'm talking people, it's ingrained in our culture. People started from Little League, Pop Warner, meaning when kids are little, they're being trained to play. It goes into middle school football. It goes into high school football, which kids are now getting paid for. It goes into college football, which is another big phenomenon. And it goes all the way up to the professional football. So the people who support the sport support it at all levels. They have their kids playing in it, and it's very American. And like it's an American thing, which is why most Americans don't pay attention to football and soccer that's played across, other countries, right? Soccer is the world sport that everyone sort of subscribes to. Not here. Most Americans don't care for it, right? There's a few that like it, but most of them don't. Most of them they prioritize American football. They prioritize the NBA, some hockey, baseball. Those are core American sports. And culturally, that's kind of our thing. Now, when you start doing some of from what they perceive to be woke messaging, the kneeling, not standing for the national anthem, that was some of the things in the past that caused controversy in the past. It creates a rift between the core base fans and the people trying to push through the messaging. So her passion is coming behind the fact that there are a lot of people that was confused by it, including myself. I was confused by it. And I'm by no stretch of the imagination racist, right? I have family members across the diaspora, right? But the point is, it didn't make sense for that particular brand as to why that was happening. You know what I mean? It's like if you went to Disneyland and there was like hardcore hip hop and, death being portrayed in Disneyland. It wouldn't translate because that's a family-centered place for little kids. There's certain messaging you're not going to see in a Disneyland. Now, this takes nothing away from Bad Bunny. The dude performed amazing. He did a great job. I got up. I was involved. I was involved in my kids' dance party as they were doing what they were doing, dancing to the thing. I didn't understand a word of it though. So for most people, they're not going to do that. They're going to be confused. They're probably going to turn away, which a lot of people did. There was a competing event for people who felt like this was not sort of in keeping with the culture. I think Kid Rock, President Trump, and some others had something else streamed online, and people were just going to that instead of watching that Super Bowl halftime show. But I think if controversy was the point, it certainly was controversial.
Okay, two things. One, you've conceded you don't have a national language in the United States officially. And secondly, the language you do want to be your official language is my language.
This guy's, I don't know. This is the dumbest point I've ever heard. What is he talking about? What? Now he wants to take credit for the fact that we speak English in America. He wants to say, English is our native language. This is so weird. She's about to eat him up, though, just for that statement.
The language of the country you think has gone to pot. So my obvious follow-up is, Megyn, why do you want English as your national language if you think England is gone to hell in a handcart?
Piers, I think those medications for your hip have gone too far. We need to dial back a pill or two. Okay?
It gets so good here, guys. I just want to say something. Jay-Z, he runs the Super Bowl halftime show since 2019. Dr. Dre, Rihanna, The Weeknd, something. He decides that there's no longer rock and roll. He decides that there's no country. And he decided that this is the second time Bad Bunny's been there at the Super Bowl.
We want something that we can all understand. I don't think Bad Bunny used his appearance to bash America, but I can't be sure because I didn't see any subcaptions on his Spanish language performance.
But what about Pavarotti? What about Pavarotti?
Two America haters.
What about Pavarotti, who Donald Trump in 2016 in particular would use at every campaign rally? He's used it at the RNC, right, as a triumphant, tub-thumping anthem. Well, no, hang on. Not only Pavarotti.
I've been to lots of Trump rallies. Pavarotti gets a song, maybe
but
two.
He sings, but when he sings Nessun Dorma in Italian, I don't see you leaping up and down going, I can't understand a word of it. You're probably singing along.
I don't remember him being the Super Bowl halftime show, was he?
Well, would you have minded if he was?
Okay, Pierce is getting diced in this little debate. He brings up Pavarotti as if we've ever put Pavarotti as a main performing artist at the Super Bowl. Pavarotti seems to be an artist that Donald Trump likes, and he plays at his rallies. That's Trump's preference. She's talking about what does the majority of Americans want to hear. What songs tend to relate more to them at a Super Bowl? These are songs that is probably widely recognized by the American public, by bands that is celebrated by the American public, that most Americans will be able to relate to or understand or can draw a connection to because it's homegrown. That's the point she's making. He's totally missing the point. He's thinking, oh, well, Pavarotti, if Pavarotti was performing in a different language, in Italian, would it have been acceptable? This is not what she's saying. And I think she proceeds to tell him, no, it wouldn't have been acceptable because that wouldn't be appealing to 300 plus million Americans who don't listen to Pavarotti. That's the point she's making.
Yes, I would have, because we feature English-speaking performers at the quintessentially American event of the Super Bowl.
Makes sense.
We do Michael Jackson. We do Whitney Houston. We do great bands that love America, like American rap. That's a different situation. This guy who can't stand the country comes out and starts speaking in Spanish, and I'm sure the people in South Florida really enjoyed it. The people in an American territory, Puerto Rico, really enjoyed it. But the people in the heartland had no idea what the hell was happening. This is a guy who loves to parade around in a dress, who again hangs out with Jay-Z and his Epstein-loving pals, who gets up there when he's not bashing America with his pals at Green Day, who are from the far left People's Republic of California, who have never missed a chance to rip on Trump, MAGA, half the country, or ICE, and that's something they share with Bad Bunny. That's not representative of what the heartland wants to see. And the heartland always gets the middle finger from people like Jay-Z, like Roger Goodell, who should know better, but he's a panderer who runs the NFL. Yep. And that's why you had probably closer to 10 million people turning the channel and turning to the Turning Point event, which was pro-American, which was absolutely beautiful, which had several references to God and faith and this country, which had a tribute to Charlie Kirk at the end of it, and talked about Jesus and how he can change your life. That's what America's all about. We were founded as a Christian nation. We're still a Christian nation, to celebrate how freaking special this country is. Not a bunch of people who can't stand us. And over what? Over our desire to get illegal immigrants who are raping and molesting our out of our country. That's all ICE is doing.
This guy is right now the hottest star in the world, and he should be on the halftime show.
Wrong.
I can't think of a compelling reason why
divisive. Not. Because he's too divisive, Piers. I'm giving you the reason. Maybe because you're not an American, you don't get it. He is too divisive a figure. No one would begrudge him his personal success story. Good for him. Great. We love that here in America. Just like we love when our half-pipe freestyle skiers make it to the Olympics. Despite all odds, they overcome them. But when you go overseas wearing the American uniform and you bash America on foreign soil, when you're wearing our stars and stripes, we get very upset here in America. It's not that we don't stand for free speech or differences of opinion or love rags to riches stories. We do all of those things. But there are certain things that we expect of the people who are representing us when they're overseas as Olympic athletes or when they are in the middle of the Super Bowl, which is our event. That is a heartland event that gets usually man, but lots of women too, on their feet, feeling patriotic year after year. It's one of the reasons why we love it. And the last thing we want is someone who's a harsh partisan who we know can't stand the country. And you're wrong. He wasn't totally patriotic at that event. He ended it by saying, God bless America, and then listed all the countries in all of the Americas, which is not how we here in the United States view the USA. We actually do believe in American exceptionalism, and we believe we actually do have a higher claim to morality than some of the countries he was listing, like Mexico. We put up with this year after year after year. But right now, we're in a serious battle over immigration enforcement, something the country voted for overwhelmingly. And to pick two acts who are as outspoken against that as these two and plop them into the middle of the event is a middle finger by Roger Goodell. It's picking a side in the most divisive debate we're having right now in the country, and it was wrong. It was a mistake.
She is so good, man.
Okay. You just heard her argument. Now, what I want to do is I want to get different sides of the fence. Like this guy who was streaming this, I think he's probably on the side of a right-wing commentator, and he stood with MEGYN. But we'll go ahead to The Hill, which is another publication, and we'll see what they had to say about it.
The debate rages on over Bad Bunny's halftime show from Sunday, with many conservatives upset at the NFL's decision to have a Spanish language performance on the country's biggest stage.
One of the many expressing outrage was former Fox News host Megyn Kelly, who blasted the performance when she went on PIERS' Morgan show. I'm sure it was a measured take. Let's watch.
To get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million Spanish speakers in the United States? We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish. This is supposed to be a unifying event for the country, not for the Latinos, not for one small group, but for the country.
Wow. Piers Morgan pushed back on Kelly, arguing that the U.S. does not have an official national language. That led to this argument.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here, whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim. It's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected. Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American.
Oh boy, those comments were echoed by other conservative voices, such as Matt Walsh, who wrote on X, why would the most iconic American sporting event of the year celebrate a culture that has absolutely nothing to do with the sport and has contributed basically nothing to it? There's a record number of Hispanics in the NFL this year, and still there were only 32 total on the rosters, which is an average of one per team. One of the most viral statements on the performance came from YouTuber and boxer Jake Paul. Before the game started, he posted on X, "Turn off this halftime, a fake American citizen performing who publicly hates America. I cannot support that."
Paul sparked a lot of backlash with that post, as many pointed out that Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico, making him a U.S. citizen. Even Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded, writing, quote, "Didn't you move to Puerto Rico to avoid paying your taxes while kids across America go hungry? Meanwhile, Benito actually funds low-income kids access to arts and sports program while you defund them. Of course you're mad. He makes you look small." Jake Paul himself confirmed that he, in fact, does live in Puerto Rico, having moved there with his brother Logan several years ago.
Yeah, all right. He should sit this one out then. Paul responded to the backlash on Monday and clarified his stance. He said he called Bad Bunny a fake citizen, not because he's from Puerto Rico, but because of how he's criticized the U.S., especially its immigration enforcement.
As Jon Stewart said, people like Megyn Kelly, he didn't reference her directly, but he said this last night, they had the nerve to complain about Bad Bunny didn't do enough to unify this country. They only found out that Puerto Rico was a part of the country a few days ago when Bad Bunny was announced as a performer. Also, when they support a president that has done more to divide this country, that's kind of absurd, talking out both sides of your mouth at the same time. This is just a stupid and foolish argument. Megyn Kelly should be embarrassed when she's talking about American performers and people that represent the country. You think about Rolling Stones. Was she okay with that? U2. Was she okay with that? Paul McCartney, Sting, these all are not American people. And she probably tuned into the show and didn't say a lick of a word, okay? Because they're not actually American performing. Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico, an American citizen performing. People in America speak Spanish. I'm sorry that you didn't understand.
Okay, I think this lady is missing the overall point here. She's not saying you can't be of a different culture or origin and your music to be a musician that performs. That's not what she's saying. What she's saying is the American Football League is a sporting event where 300 plus million members of the fan base are English-speaking Americans. And the Super Bowl is the biggest event in the country. I'm talking the ad revenue is crazy. Like this, like $3-4 million just for a 30-second bit. It's a lot. It's everyone tunes in for the Super Bowl. It's a big thing. And does it make sense for the NFL to bring a Spanish-speaking reggaeton person to perform all his greatest hits, all in Spanish, when 90% of the viewers are going to have no idea what the heck is going on? Did that make sense? I think this is the point she's missing. This is not like she's racist for saying, oh, Bad Bunny was performing and all that. She's not saying that. That's not what this is. What she's saying is, did it make sense for the NFL in terms of judgment? Was it good judgment for the NFL to book an artist that performed in a language that 90+% of the people had no idea what was being spoken about? Would that alienate the fan base? Or would it just be weird, right? It was almost like if we went to a country and performed for the group of people there and they didn't understand what the heck we were saying. It would be confusing. So it's not racist to say, even if the person performed their music, it didn't translate to the audience. So this lady's taking it somewhere else. I didn't get offended by what she was saying. It made sense to me because I asked the same question. I was like, I don't understand why the whole performance is in Spanish. I have no idea what he's saying. I don't really follow reggaeton music. Not saying that my music preference has to be the basis, but clearly the majority of the audience didn't know what the heck was going on. And that's what she's giving voice to. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why are we watching this? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't say American football. It might say soccer, World Cup. It might say one of those type of sporting events. It didn't say American football. In the same way, I think it's weird when they putting on the game and they're panning over to Taylor Swift and because she's dating Kelsey Grammer. That Kelsey, the tight end, the Kansas City tight end. I think it's weird. I'm not tuning in to watch Taylor Swift. She's a great performer. It's awesome that she found love with Kelsey. Great. I don't care for that. I'm literally not tuning in to watch a football game where a lot of the camera time is going to a lady who has nothing to do with football. A lot. That's what she's trying to point out, is that the NFL is being disconnected. They're chasing the lights. They're not chasing and perfecting the product that is the game, because the fans of the game don't want all the other noise and distraction to spill into the game. So what she's saying is it was poor judgment on the part of the fans on the part of the NFL to the core audience of the National Football League. It made no sense as to why they just watched the performance in a language that most of them don't speak. They have no idea what just happened. I didn't. And I was thinking that out loud. And I literally said, what is he saying? What, do you know these songs? Like, I don't know the songs. I don't listen to a lot of reggaeton. It's great when you go to a club or an event and they play some reggaeton and you'll dance. You don't know the music. But when you're watching the game with your family or you're hosting a party and they're playing reggaeton music and you don't listen to it, it would be weird. In the same way that take the reggaeton out of it. If in that national stadium they started playing Indian music, it'd be weird to Americans because they wouldn't understand the Indian language of the performer. If they were playing Italian music, it'd be weird to them. If they were playing you know, anything that was not in English, it'd be hard for anybody to understand it. That's the point she's making. It didn't translate to the core audience, but people are taking the conversation into something else.
In Google Translate, most people were dancing and could recognize that the music's actually good. You remember when the world sang Gangnam Style? Do you know what that song means or what it stands for? No, but billions of people around the world, including the US, were doing this to Psy. It's still the most streamed video on YouTube. You remember it? Okay.
I remember it. It's a great video.
Exactly.
I love
And
it.
so if Megyn Kelly could understand that and the world understands that, she needs to get on board. People were salsa dancing, having a good time. People need to understand that just because it's not for you this one time, get over it. Also, I'm laughing in her face because that Turning Points events, President Trump wasn't even watching it. We have video of him actually watching Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. No, I can't, because this is all embarrassing take. Everybody who has any critiques for Bad Bunny that surround him not being American are not only dumb, they're just misinformed and foolish.
No one is saying he's. Yes, I was gearing up to mostly agree with you, but now I don't think I do after that tirade.
Rant.
Some of the criticisms we referenced there are not the most intelligent critiques I've ever heard. Yes, he is an American, and America is not just the United States. Our hemisphere, the Americas, contains a lot of Spanish-speaking people. So Megyn Kelly's analogy there to you're losing your country because you're permitting too many Muslims is not really an apt metaphor, because this is like, from a U.S. perspective, there should be a major difference between like refugees from the Middle East and Spanish-speaking people of like they are Americans. America includes Latin America and South America and the Caribbean, and Puerto Rico is even part of the United States. So these are not similar metaphors. We have Spanish cuisine and Spanish music as a part of the Southwest and a part of America. And so that was not, she's making it sound like she just wants it to be white.
Exactly.
But
making it sound racist.
Well, it could be white every now and then. There's not been white performers for the last however many Super Bowls in a row.
Well, however many Super Bowls in a row, it's mostly white performers. If you look at the majority, go look at the history. It's mostly
okay, not for the last 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, get over it. Jay-Z runs it now. But for years, it's been white people. So that critique is foolish. Look at all the years, look at all the white people, and then you can balance it out. Does it match the demographics of our country? Probably so. More white people than not.
I think people are missing the point. Again, we're making this a black-white thing. I didn't even take it like that. I didn't take it as a black-white thing. Is the music understandable to the people that's listening to it? The core audience. Do they know what the performer is singing? This is the point. Like, it was not, the music is good music. My kids loved it. They danced. I was dancing with the kids. Good music. This is not a critique on his music. He's a good performer. But what she's saying is that this guy has been against our president. He's been a vocal critic of the president and some of the policies that the American people voted in, like the removal of illegal immigrants into the country. And ICE has been carrying that out because that's what the guy was essentially elected to do. He's doing it. This guy comes in with all that criticism as the backdrop. What she was saying is that Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, was essentially picking a side on the issue by making a guy like that be the mainstay performer, the big headliner name. The reason why she thinks that's what it was about is because the music does not cater to the core fundamental fan base of the American Football League. That's what she's trying to say. For the American Football League, where mostly Americans, English-speaking Americans, tune in to watch, his music would have only appealed to a small percentage of Americans, the ones who speak fluent Spanish, who speak and understand fluent Spanish. That's a small percentage of Americans. And what she's saying is that it was a bad judgment call for the NFL to allow that to be the case. That's not to say a person who's not a native-born American whose lineage comes from somewhere outside of America can't have a popular song that a lot of Americans know. But that's different when you make that person the main performer at an American football game. So whether the person's black or white, the point is they sang whatever song they sang in English, which other Americans can understand. So if, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the artists that perform, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of what was the guy that performed? Drake's guy, The Weeknd. I wasn't a fan when he performed. I didn't think it was good. I'm not a big fan of the music. There's a couple songs I like. I wasn't a big fan. But guess what? It was in English, and people could at least understand and follow along with the music. That's what she's saying. When your American football is synonymous with hamburgers, hot dogs, like when you go to those leagues, to those stadiums, that's what they sell in the stands. Nacho cheese. There's certain foods. Like you see the whole branding with foods and things like that. Like it's all synonymous with this particular thing. In the same way that you would associate Thanksgiving with turkeys and stuffing and cranberry sauce and all these different things, that's how we associate the game. It's an American thing. And what she's saying is not that these people aren't American or that you can't be an American with different likes to come and enjoy the game. That's not what he's saying. But she's saying at the Super Bowl, did it make sense for you to get a headliner performer who performed in a language that most of the audience didn't understand? I get that argument. It makes sense. Like, that's a fair argument. People didn't understand what he was saying, so a lot of them tuned out. You lose the viewers. And what she's saying is, and now those viewers are going to say, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why was this dude performing, taking nothing away from the dude personally, but we didn't get it? That's not racist. I mean, I'm not a white man saying that. I mean, I didn't get it either. Like, I didn't understand. It made sense for why people would give that critique and say, I don't get it. I don't get it. That's all he's saying, and they're making it about something else.
Well, not in the last 6 years. I don't care. I liked most of these past performances that have taken place anyway. I liked this one too. I wasn't familiar with the music. Like, I like Latin music. I like Shakira when she did it. I liked Lady Gaga's part. I like Ricky Martin. I know who those people are. I didn't know who Bad Bunny was, even though I've probably heard his music in the background in a club or something. I just didn't know who he was specifically until they announced him for the Super Bowl, and none of his songs are identifiable to me. That's probably the case also for some of these older commentators who are saying, I didn't love it, and they're wrongly latching onto, I don't like it because it's some outside other, where if it was someone they had heard on the radio, like Shakira or Gloria Estefan or something, from back in the day.
That is a good point, but Gloria Estefan sang in English. The point is, people didn't understand the music. That's all it is. If you put an Indian person there singing Indian Hindu music, people would have the same criticism. Like, we don't know what the person was saying. So I don't know that made sense for us. That's all they're saying. Now, there's 1.something billion Indian people. I'm sure the biggest pop stars in Indian culture, in terms of global population, there's a lot of people who would subscribe to a particular artist in that part of the region. But if you took that artist and put them in an American football league, not in a cricket tournament, but in an American football league, it wouldn't make sense. We would be like, we don't know what you're singing. In the same way, if you took reggaeton, take Bad Bunny and put him in a cricket stadium in India where they're performing, he's performing reggaeton and they're playing cricket and nobody understands what he's saying, it wouldn't make sense there either. Like, this is not even controversial. I don't even know why people are making this controversial. The critique is not controversial. What she's saying is Roger Goodell essentially picked a side, and the side that he picked was the political narrative around Trump's decisions to use ICE to get rid of illegal immigrants. And he was using a guy who is a staunch critic of Trump's policies and putting him on a main stage to push forward that narrative. That's what she's attacking. She's not attacking Bad Bunny. I didn't hear her making it personal about Bad Bunny. She said, congratulations to the guy and his success. We celebrate that here in America. She said that. To me, I don't believe that it's something rooted out of hate and evil and all of that stuff. That's not what I'm getting from it. I'm getting, she's giving back feedback as critiques. Like if you went to any bar around the country and you said, did you understand what the heck was going on in the halftime performance? Most of the people are going to be like, I had no idea what that dude was talking about in his songs. I'm not familiar with much of any of the music. Even if their kids may hear it while they go out to a nightclub from time to time, it's not mainstream American music that most people would be able to relate to. I mean, I'm a fairly young guy. I go to different events and different venues and things of that nature, and I'll hear reggaeton music. I didn't really recognize any of the songs. I don't really follow reggaeton music. There's nothing wrong with reggaeton music. Good beat. You can dance to it from time to time. It's fun. But at an American event where people are there to watch football, and then you're using these figures to essentially make a political statement as well as perform in a language that most people don't understand, that's where the pushback is coming from.
It's not really about it being Spanish. It's just about it being unfamiliar. That's what I would say. This is a younger person's artist, and 10 years from now, it wouldn't have been controversial, is my guess. It's just not widely known to older people yet. Is that fair?
Sure.
Is that fair?
So
nothing wrong with it.
So
I enjoyed the performance. I enjoyed the dancing.
So maybe
I would have enjoyed it more if I liked the songs. I liked the part Gwen, not Gwen Stefani, Lady Gaga. I liked the part Lady Gaga did because I knew that song.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
So you talked about old people. So let's talk to Megyn Kelly, the old lady.
Okay.
Sit out of this conversation. It's not for you. Nobody wants you to listen to it. Go watch Turning Points. 5 million people were over there. We see who all the delinquents are that like Kid Rock. Kid Rock was popular in 1998. You can watch that show. Nobody cares.
Kid Rock
5 million
performed the Super
people
Bowl.
watched it. I don't care. In 1998, 5 million people watched Turning Points event. 120 plus million people watched the Super Bowl. 511 million people watched it on Apple Music.
Who cares?
So Megyn Kelly,
right.
go with your small crowd. You are in the minority here, and she's so mad that nobody cares because
you're mad.
I am mad because she's being racist. She literally is saying she doesn't want somebody that speaks Spanish performing because that's after we colonized Puerto Rico. She's saying she doesn't want somebody to speak Spanish performing. She's a delinquent. That's like delinquency and foolishness, like racism to the top core. I want to see more white people because football is white. What? Mostly made up of black players. What are you talking about, lady? So it's just embarrassing when she speaks, and especially in ways like this that are degrading people just because.
For the record, she didn't say she wanted to see more white people. She even said, even American rap. Like she said, you know, since Jay-Z took it over, you know, there's been different artists performing. America has different genres of music. This is not about which artists, because there's a lot of great artists, white, black, Spanish. It's not about the artists particularly. It's about, did the music translate with the crowd of people that tuned in for the show? If 90% of the people don't understand what's being spoken of in the music, none of the music is familiar to them, then it's not a good choice from a programming standpoint, is what she was saying. This lady's going off the Richter scales too. She's making this a racial thing. I didn't get anything racial from what was being said here, because I had the same question. I said, why would they choose a reggaeton artist for an event where 90% of the people don't listen to reggaeton? They're gonna know nothing about any of his hits. Most of the time, like when they put Snoop Dogg, a lot of white Americans listen and like Snoop Dogg, and they know his music. If they play Jay-Z, a lot of white Americans know Jay-Z. If they play Beyonce when she played, a lot of Americans know Beyonce. White and black and every color in between. It's it's not about that. Is the music known by the people who's tuning in so that it translates, it makes sense to the people. There's some music I know from artists that I don't necessarily, I'm not big rock and roll guys, but I know some U2 songs. I know some Backstreet Boys songs. If you put those guys there, you went to high school, you were part of the culture here, a lot of the music will resonate with you, even if it's not what's in your playlist, because it's supposed to be catering to what I think the majority of the people would like for an event like that. So when you play something that 98% of the people don't understand, that's where the pushback is going to be.
Because they're Spanish. I'm not going to accept that. And so, yes, it's laughable and embarrassing that Turning Points had that other event, which was racist in itself. Nobody watched.
Racist for them to have
Yeah, because they called it All-American, as if the Super Bowl event wasn't All-American. It was wholly American. We colonized Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny's an American. So the fact that we're calling it All-American over there is coded language, and we all know that. So Megyn Kelly is embarrassing.
Politics. That was about.
It's always about something else. Trump is about not seeing the screenshot, which is why he posted Obama as apes. It's always about something else.
It was about Bad Bunny's political views, which were opposed to immigration enforcement. That's what he said. He didn't do any of that at the Super Bowl, which is great.
MTG
but he did
is opposed to Trump.
No, what?
MTG is opposed to Trump. So what? Why would
have to do with
So
it?
I'm saying, like, a lot of people are opposed to Trump and his views.
It's that he was opposed to immigration policies that conservatives support. So they were declining to support him by watching him because he.
This dude's over her. He's like, what? What is this point you're making? Like, you can tell she's in her feelings about it. I don't know, man.
He spoke up about policies they disagreed.
And it was an L. Compared to the numbers, it was a complete fail.
Well, obviously, it was going to be. People are watching the Super Bowl, and they don't change their channel.
So Jake Paul, it's an L. You live in Puerto Rico, it's an L. TP USA, you thought it was going to be a comparison. That was an L. So everybody just go ahead and get on board. Spanish language is the second most spoken language in our country. Learn a lick of Spanish. Yeah, learn a lick of Spanish. I go internationally all the time because I have a docuseries that travels. Most people know 2 languages besides Americans. We should actually try to learn more languages. When you go to other countries, they might know English and something. And so why would you deter people?
Okay, this lady's missing it, man. We're not talking about people who may decide on their own to learn a second language. This is about American football. The New England Patriots playing the Seattle Seahawks. This is not meant to be political. It's a football game. Now, the halftime show is an entertaining segment inside of this whole overarching football game. And you have to pay attention to the audience to understand what's appropriate and what isn't. The audience tuning into this American football game are full of English-speaking people. So if you're going to do a segment inside of the overall programming, it would make sense to have music that the majority of those people can relate to. That's all she's saying. And when they chose not to do that, and they chose somebody who was coming in with a political narrative against what the majority of the people who are watching the game voted for, it creates controversy. And this lady is just going off on a tangent. And you can see this dude, he looked. He's like, yo, please don't pair me up with her again. Because she's off the chains. I don't know what's going on. He's just trying to keep his composure. She's low-key kind of losing it right now. And I don't know why, because this is not a controversial point. If it was an Indian person performing in a Hindi song, meaning the core group and audience of American football fans, would not understand the music, even if it's widely known in that particular region. The people for this event won't get it, which means it won't translate well. They will divert the attention elsewhere, which is what you're trying to keep, is the attention of your core audience. And every time you do these political statement leaning type of acts, it diverts the attention. You lose your core group of people. That's the point she was making. This lady's going off on another tantrum. I don't understand why.
From learning other languages, it's beautiful that we are a melting pot here and speak more than one language. It's the second most spoken language in our country. Read what the lyrics are all about. Dance a little bit. Get the stick up. Like, you know, I'm not even gonna go. I'm done talking to Megyn Kelly. She's embarrassing. Hang it up, lady. Old lady, like you said. Ancient people who don't get it. She's the one. Ancient.
All right. Well, now I feel obligated to you're turning me against this, but so let's just leave it there.
There you have it. I try to give you a fair and balanced approach. We got two sides of the story. We got one side where there was a conservative viewer who brought up and who was supporting Megyn Kelly's points. And then we got another side where you have more of a left-leaning syndicate that was talking about the issue. You saw both sides. I weighed in. I'm more on the conservative side with this particular topic because I just think it's just marketing 101. Like, don't do anything to alienate your audience, period. And you know, if the NFL fans shut down, the core group of people that like Bad Bunny's music would not be big supporters of the NFL. That's the overall point that's being made here. Like, don't alienate your core audience. But what say you? I definitely invite my viewers to weigh in. If you're not already a subscribed member of the show, the Intercourse Show, like and subscribe, share the video, and weigh in. Let me know what you think about this topic and others. All right. This was a spirited discussion, but I wish you all well. God bless you until we meet again.